Woo! The Nature Boy, Ric Flair, might be styling and profiling his way into one more match. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling. Ric Flair in the headlines again. He's not done. He said back at the end of 2007, I will never retire. And based on what's happened since then, 15 years later, maybe he was telling the truth, because Ric Flair has came out on his podcast to be the man, and he has said that he wants one more match. Yes, one more match. The guy's beginning to sound like Christian. I think he's maybe stolen Christian's gimmick here. That was Christian, I want one more match. But now Ric Flair is adamant that he is the man. Well, he is the man. I guess Becky Lynch can't use it. Ric Flair's the man, and he is the man that wants one more match. So, on his podcast, Ric Flair was recently talking about wanting to wrestle again, and he says he's not just asking or wanting a match, he's begging for a match. This is what he said, quote, I'm begging to do it again. I'm begging because I've told 100 people, how do I forget to drink water all day long? That's all that happened to me. You saw me. I drank 5 beers right after. I can think of a lot of things I've screwed up in matches, and things you would change. I just know that could have been golden, I just happened to be dehydrated. I don't know how I could have made that mistake, because you know how much work I put in with Lethal. We had everything figured out. I mean, we had so much more to do. God, it would have been great. End of quote. So, Ric Flair thinks that if he was hydrated, it would have been great. But let's be realistic, man. The guy's 75 years old. Maybe he should be at home doing crosswords or something, rather than, laying in the ring, bleeding out. So yeah, I don't think water is this big, massive contribution to the bad match and the performance of Ric Flair, as Flair seems to think it is. I think the major point here is the guy is 75 years old. The guy, it is time to retire, man. It is time to call it a day. Water or no water, I don't think he would have performed much better, but Ric Flair thinks he would have, and he wants one more match. And how many times is he going to ask for one more match? Because sooner or later, it's not going to be one more match. It's going to be several more matches. I mean, he had a great retirement in WWE at WrestleMania 24. Should have left it at that. He didn't. He went to TNA. Fair enough. And now he's having, he had matches with Hogan and stuff after TNA. He did like a Ric Flair Hulkamania tour and had a bunch of matches with him, and Hogan can barely walk, man, and they're bleeding and every single continent over the world. Like, what's the point? Seriously. Now he's had his Ric Flair's last match. Everybody came to watch it, and that's not enough for him, because now he wants another one. So yeah, I don't get it, man. He's a 16-time world champion, but at this point in his career, he probably wants at least another 16 matches. I think he should just call it quits. If he wants to be involved, then I don't know, be a manager or something, man. But please, Ric Flair, it was uncomfortable last time watching it. He legit thought the guy could have died in the ring, and that's too much, man. Right, when it gets to that stage, he needs to call it a day. So, Ric Flair, will he retire? Probably not. Will he wrestle again in 2023? I wouldn't be surprised. But he's also come out and says that Charlotte Flair should, and it's no surprise, will beat his 16-time world titles. And honestly, I don't know how he can think this. I know he likes to put over his daughter. I know he likes to praise his daughter. Most fathers would, but I mean, it's ludicrous, man. Come on, Charlotte Flair's not Ric Flair. She never will be Ric Flair. Ric Flair won those 16 world titles over 3 decades. She's literally been handed 14 titles over, a 7-year period. It's embarrassing. It really is. And Ric Flair was the world champion. Charlotte Flair's just been given a bunch of meaningless belts. When Ric Flair held the title, it meant something. With Charlotte Flair, one time she's given here's a red belt, here's a blue belt. I think she even moved to NXT and got a belt after being on the main roster. So here's a gold belt for you. It's ridiculous. She can win as many titles as she wants. They're meaningless. They're worthless titles. So it doesn't really matter how many titles Charlotte Flair wins, to be honest. And finally, Ric Flair also mentioned his buddy Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. He said that those two should win the tag team titles on AEW. He thinks they should be tag team champions. Could he be possibly wanting that? Could he be pushing for them to win the titles and potentially get a rematch with himself and Andrade? Could that happen with the AEW belts on the line? Maybe. Or does Ric Flair want to go out in style? Does he want all the spotlight to himself? Does he want a one-on-one match in his final match? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't even want another guy in the ring. Maybe he wants to wrestle a broomstick. Maybe he just wants all the attention to be on Ric Flair. Maybe he can drop a couple of elbows on a jacket or something like that. You know, drop a couple of knees on a suit and we'll see what happens, Ric Flair. But anyway, that's it. He wants another match in 2023. Wouldn't be surprised if it happens. It shouldn't happen. I mean, the guy's too old. And he could hurt himself, man. He was legit wanting to take a top rope superplex in that last match. Are you serious? I mean, that could have killed him. So yeah, Ric Flair wrestling again, in my opinion, it's not a good idea. It's a bad idea. It's a very, very bad idea. Would I watch it though? Yes. I mean, it's Ric Flair. Of course you'll watch it. And that's the problem. You know, people would rather watch a 75-year-old Ric Flair than watch all these, you know, current guys in their prime, and that says more about these guys than it does about Flair. We can talk about Flair, things he's done, controversial and all this stuff, and the fact he should call it a day, but you know what, maybe if today's people were good enough, then there'd be no demand for Ric Flair. Maybe Ric Flair wouldn't even have the options of coming and doing a match when he's 75 years old. But because wrestling sucks, there will always be room for the older guys, even guys as old as Ric Flair. But anyway, that's my opinion. Let me know in the comments down below what your opinion is. I will see you in the next one. And of course, until next time, thanks for watching. Woo!